Hello, I'm Dr. James Bogash, expert in health and longevity and creator of Bogash Life and Balance. And today we're going to talk about what not to add in with any type of high-fat diet. Now, when we talk about high-fat diet, we could be talking about the crappy standard American diet, or we could be talking about something more planned like a ketogenic diet, which is focused on, most people think it's focused on the proteins, but it's not. It's all about the fat. And the problem is that a lot of people do the ketogenic diet wrong, and they screw it all up, and they think that bacon and cheese, it's a free reign to have all the bacon and cheese you want, and that's absolutely not the way to go about a ketogenic diet. The other thing that people frequently do, and you saw this early on, for those of you that remember the Atkins diet, every Atkins product had artificial sweeteners in it. And that is absolutely, positively not the way to go about a high-fat diet. It is also not the way to go about the standard crappy American diet that's loaded with fat and adding in so you have your Big Mac value meal and you wash it down with the Diet Coke. So it all boils down to this particular, it was an animal study looking at different types of sweeteners in the presence of a high-fat diet. And unsurprisingly, when they combined a high-fat diet with sucrose, so table sugar, the results were just awful. Anything you could imagine: increased inflammation, increased progression of diabetes, the gut, the microbiome started getting destroyed. Everything bad that could happen happens when you combine a high-fat diet with table sugar sucrose. So you think, well, let's do sucralose because it's in everything and it's got to be safe. So no, that was not the case. What they saw when they added a sucrose to a high-fat diet, which again is a mistake a lot of people make with the ketogenic diet, is they're not getting away from the sweet. They are just substituting it with something else. They found that there was an increase in bacteria linked to things like inflammation and leaky gut, so that the health of the gut was not as strong, and it was allowing things to leak out into the body. That process can be called endotoxemia. In other words, toxins from the bacteria in our gut leak into our system. So endotoxemia was raised when you combined high-fat diet with sucralose. Well, what about stevia? Because that's a natural sweetener, and that didn't turn out to be too good either. They found that when they combined it with stevia, high-fat diet and stevia, that there was decreased diversity in the gut. And if you've listened to any of my videos talking about the microbiome, the key take-home is that we want more diversity in our gut. We want 1,000 people all doing their own little thing rather than 100 people having your plumber pull your teeth. So anything that decreases diversity is not a good thing. But I've never really been a fan of stevia either. Maybe as a transition to get away from that, but not somewhere to sit and hang out. Despite that, we have a lot of stevia-based products, and this study would suggest that that's not a good combination in something like the ketogenic diet. They did find that brown sugar and honey, which locally grown honey, I'm definitely a supporter of. My wife will sometimes use it in her coffee. Occasionally we'll throw it on something as a sweetener. But naturally grown honey, while it may be expensive, you may be looking at $12, $15 for a small jar of honey, it's going to last you a long time. So it's actually an investment if you look at it that way. But they found that actually increased diversity in the gut, which is exactly what we want. It also lowered markers of inflammation, and that endotoxemia that we talked about was lower when brown sugar or honey was used. So the take-home story is, if you're going to do something like a ketogenic diet, we need to educate yourself about good choices, healthy fats, avoiding any type of sweeteners in your products. And then if you're going to be doing any type of sweetener, for anything, honey is almost always your safer bet. If you're diabetic, you have to kind of look at how it affects your individual blood sugar, and obviously use it at a minimum, but generally locally grown darker honeys are your safest bet as a sweetener, and they're only going to feed your microbiome, not destroy it. As always, I'll post a link to this particular study in the description. Make sure you like this video, share it with somebody who you think needs this information, and subscribe to the channel.